How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Giving a little credit today to a player that has caught a lot of criticism over the past couple of months. We have surely been critical of him, but he's a great dude, and a lot of respect to him for kind of fighting through a lot of the adversity and challenges that have been thrown his way. And of course, we're talking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, transitioning from that kind of infield shortstop, third base role to an outfielder where he's never played before. And, while his numbers still aren't great, I think he's -5 defensive run saved, but he does have one out above average. He's filled a role. He's filled a couple of different spots, actually. I think he's played left, right, and center field this season at certain times. And he's been filling in left field pretty admirably the last couple of weeks because of his offensive contributions. We're going to talk about that, his surging numbers. We've needed him. We've needed Anthony Volpe, especially with LeMahieu, Stanton, and Josh Donaldson struggling as much as they've been. But Ryan, looking at IKF, I know that you and I have been some of his biggest critics, and we've certainly laid it on him in the past. But I can't help but giving him credit where it's due, and I feel like that's only fair. So, what are you seeing from the guy the last couple of weeks? Obviously, we'll go through his numbers, take a look at what he's been doing. But certainly, I wouldn't say an everyday starter at this point in time, but certainly a good super utility option to have.
Yeah, so I think that one of the big things that you mentioned there is how well he's been able to respond to really losing his job at shortstop to Anthony Volpe, right? And it felt like coming into spring training that there was no shot IKF could win that job. Not only was Peraza there as the alternative, but I don't think it would have been something the Yankees were going to be able to explain from a PR standpoint or from a baseball standpoint if he would have started at shortstop after what happened last year. But he's done an excellent job getting better with his outfield jumps. He ranks in the 97th percentile there. He's still working out some of the kinks with his routes and, throwing decisions, but in terms of arm strength, he's pretty good as well. So that's definitely encouraging. I view him as someone that, as you mentioned, can be a pretty good utility guy for this team. And someone on our live stream yesterday actually mentioned it. He's our best third baseman right now. The Yankees have really bad issues at third base. LeMahieu and Donaldson have been terrible. They're both not in the lineup today. And IKF is someone who's won a Gold Glove there. Again, people are going to say, well, he won it in 2020, but the defensive numbers there as a whole are good. And it's not like defense in a 60-game sample size is not capable of being notable. Like, he has a career 16 defensive runs saved and 19 outs above average there. I think that's good enough for me to say he's a good defender. At least until you find a third baseman, I think that makes sense, right? Bowers is hitting well. He had a double today. I know McKinney hasn't necessarily played well as of late, but if you can get him some at-bats, maybe that works out for you. Bader obviously is your center fielder. Judge will be your right fielder. Stanton's your DH/right fielder. Could you put IKF at third and kind of just mix some guys around in the outfield until you figure out what's going on with LeMahieu and Donaldson? Not saying that you're never going to play LeMahieu or Donaldson, but, the team's trying to win games. So I think that comes before trying to get playing time for those guys. So I think the one thing IKF's done really well offensively is his hitting the ball a lot harder. This year's exit velocity is up to 88.9 miles per hour. That's a career high. 4.6% barrel rate. That's a career high. 37.7% hard hit rate. That's a career high. 25% line drive rate. That's his high since 2018. The BABIP is up to 290 after he started off really low in that regard. His ISO is up, which is isolated power. It's a career high. His xWOBA is at a career high. His WRC plus is at a career high. Everything's career highs for him power-wise. It seems that he's taking a better approach at the plate. He really shook that really bad start in April off. Like, there was a point in April where he was legitimately one of the worst players in all of baseball. And since that point in time, he has a 120 WRC plus. So at this point, I embrace him for what he is, which is a really cool utility player, represents the pinstripes well, and overall has become a fan favorite.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. Like, that's the kind of adversity that you see players like Hicks or like Joey Gallo, and they go in the wrong direction, right? Like, they see that criticism, they hear the boos, and instead they shy away. Instead, they lack the confidence, the motivation to continue fighting and getting better. Big kudos. I'm already used to players doing that. We're used to players flopping once they get into the doghouse. But IKF has fought his way out. He's climbed his way out, clawed his way out. It's a long season. There's going to be inconsistencies. But what he's done over the past couple of weeks has certainly given us a reason to be positive about him, and at least even talk about the idea of him being a contributor on this team, a positive one at that. As you mentioned, career highs in several categories. The 94 WRC plus. He's almost a career average, or rather a league average hitter. For him, that's not been possible the last couple of years. Just he's never reached 100 WRC plus, but he has the same batting average, 261, as he did last season. Now, his on base percentage is never going to be like crazy high, but it's been kind of going up the last couple of weeks pretty significantly. He was on base at like a 240 clip, and then now he's at 309. Hopefully he keeps going. He has 5 homers. He's on pace to hit a career best in home runs. The strikeout rate, pretty round career, 1% more, and the walk rate slightly above average too. So, but as you mentioned, the slugging metrics, what have really kind of blossomed here. He's a career high 37.7% hard hit rate, 4.6% barrel rate, another career high, 88.9 average exit velocity, and his launch angle is 8.5 degrees. So you're seeing IKF get the ball in the air more, and you love this, Ryan. Like that's your kind of MO, is like getting balls in the air, pulling balls, doing all of these things that help you hit homers, and that's kind of been where we've seen a little bit of increasing. That 37.7% pull rate is definitely solid. He, some of the best hard hit metrics of his entire career. His ground ball rate has actually reduced by about 10% compared to 2022. So where else is that ball going to go? It's going to go in the air, which is definitely great. 11.4% home run to fly ball ratio, the best in his career by almost double, I think, more than double, almost triple his last year's metric. So you're seeing a player that has really kind of taken to the Yankees kind of strategy of hitting strikes hard, elevating the ball and trying to hit for some more power instead of those ground balls. And it served him well. It's definitely contributing toward a more positive IKF. In the month of June, he hit 275 with about a 31% on base rate at 412 slugging and a 721 OPS. He was pretty solid. I mean, to start July, I know it's a small sample size, only 14 at-bats. We're excluding Tuesday's game because we're recording this right in the middle of it. But he's already hitting 429 with a 529 OBP, 500 slugging, 1029 OPS. I mean, he's killing it. And his splits are even better. Like if you look at his 30-day splits, guys, they're really, really good. I'll kind of read them to you in 1 second here. So, when you're looking at IKF, what he's done over the past 30 days, he's slashing 351 with a 406 OBP, 491 slugging, and an 897 OPS. The last 15 days, even better. The last 7 days, better than that. He's just been performing really, really well. But you know what, Ryan, why do you think there's a big switch in this kind of hard hit metrics right now? Like what is he doing differently that's helping him improve in those categories? Clearly it's actually helping him a lot, maybe not in the home run categories, but extra base hits, getting the ball in the air and helping it get through the infield. Cause that's kind of what his biggest problem has been. Those ground balls just never get out of the infield. Now he's elevating the ball. He's dinking it over the first baseman, dinking it over the second, third, shortstop. And he's putting it in places where they just simply can't get it. Why do you think there's kind of been a little bit of a turnaround in that regard?
Yeah, so IKF actually mentioned this during the season where he felt like he was, trying to be more of a contact-oriented player last year. Not that his contact rates are bad this year; they're excellent. But he felt like he had to take a little bit off the power to try to, put the ball in play or force the ball in play. Which there are merits to that for certain hitters, but that shouldn't be the way I think you should go about hitting. I don't think hitting is just about putting the ball in play. You want to have every swing have a purpose, and every swing having a purpose matters. The big metric I want to look at here is sweet spot percentage. I've kind of started bringing this metric up a little bit more. I want to shout out my friend on Twitter, Cardinals Reek. He has a really, really, really good article talking about the importance of spraying the ball and launch angles and all that stuff, and the importance of sweet spot percentage. And that metric takes into account how many balls you hit between the launch angles of 8 and 32. That's because that's the ideal launch angles to hit hit batted balls at. Plenty of line drives, lots of home runs, extra base hits, all that good stuff. And his sweet spot percentage in the last, in his entire career has always been below league average, right? 29.6% last year, 31.6% before he got traded to the Yankees. This year, it's 35.1%. That's 2% better than league average. That explains why he's getting a better quality of contact that reflects in his xWOBA, which is 310, career high. Also reflects in his expected weight on base average on just on balls in play, which is 340. Really, when you're looking at it from a standpoint of what IKF is trying to do at the plate, he's not trying to hit home runs, right? I think that's pretty clear. But he's trying to hit more line drives now. And that's the approach you should always have. It should be more line drive centric, not just put the ball in play centric. If you're not going to hit for a lot of power, that's fine, but you have to hit a lot of line drives. You have to consistently find the sweet spot, because if you're not hitting the ball hard and you're hitting ground balls, you're typically going to hit into a lot of outs. And I think that's ended up being one of the most important, pieces of development for IKF. It feels like his swing path and his ability to get to those launch angles is important. I know launch angle is a buzzword in the Yankee community. Launch angle is just a quantification. It's not this idea that you should hit the ball 1,000,000 feet into the air, or this idea that the only way to hit it well is to hit home runs. Launch angle means a million things. And I think that having this broader understanding of launch angle and this more nuanced understanding that it's just a measurement Launch angle's getting me choked up here, man. I'm getting emotional. But no, in all seriousness, launch angle is one of those things where it's just a quantification, right? And everyone's got their ideal launch angle. Certain guys are better profiled for line drive approaches, hitting the ball a little lower. Different guys are more profiled for high fly balls and stuff like that. I know you mentioned Joey Gallo. This isn't because Joey Gallo didn't struggle because he hit the ball in the air, but he's a guy who you think of as like a big, large launch angle guy hits the ball in the air a lot. That's just a quantification. That's just where he hits the ball. That's just where he finds the most success. And as you mentioned, him and Hicks kind of, they faced a lot of criticism over the years with the Yankees. They were kind of painted as the reasons for the failures of the teams they were a part of. Josh Donaldson also kind of gets grouped into that as well. IKF was part of that last year. People felt like that was the reason why the Yankees didn't perform too well. The Josh Donaldson IKF trade has now just become the Josh Donaldson trade. That's the part of the trade you now look at as the, real negative here with the Yankees. He's really turned the narrative around. I understand how hard it is to play in New York. Everyone understands and knows that pressure is not a great feeling. If you've ever competed in sports, you know that feeling of when, your heart's speeding up, you feel like you can't breathe and you're struggling to really get yourself going. And it's amplified in New York. You've got people like you and myself talking about you. You've got the entire media. You've got 40,000 fans booing you. And he's been able to respond well to that. And I think that's a testament to who he is as a person. I don't think it makes you weak if you can't respond to New York, but I think it just makes you that much stronger of a person if you're able to do what IKF's been able to do.
Yeah, I think that's well said. He's definitely turned it around. And he's kind of showcasing what it's like to fight off that bad energy, that negativity, and show resiliency. It's difficult, man. New York is not easy. It's not an easy place to play. We've seen many players come and go, and a lot of the time it's because they can't handle the level of criticism that comes with playing in the Bronx, especially with the passionate amount of fans. And look, every game, most of them are sold out. You go on the weekend, it's sold out. You go to other places, you go to Oakland, you go to Baltimore, you go here, you go there. There's no one in the freaking stands. There's no one to watch. No one gives a shit. And excuse my language, that's the truth. When it comes to the Yankees, people care. This is life and blood. This is their soul. This is like what they find, escapism in, following this team. And ultimately we have a lot of expectations because we're one of the best organizations, not only in the MLB, but in the history of sports. And we expect a lot from this club. And ultimately I think that they've given us a lot in return, but we, just can't stand by and ultimately watch players. And it's something about them as human beings. We respect them as men. We respect them as people. And, the criticism is all baseball oriented. They can't hit a fly ball. Who the hell cares? You know what I mean? We're not calling them names. We're not saying they're bad people. They just aren't good baseball players at times, or can't hit a baseball, whatever it might be. So, I think it's fair criticism, but at the end of the day, IKF battling back, showcasing what he can do is a huge testament to the type of person he is, and also just the ability to be resilient. And that's really, really difficult in this day and age with all the social media and the online activity that can get very hostile times. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below on IKF, what you think about him right now. Obviously, a lot of positive things to say. I hope you guys are thinking the same as well. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a fantastic July 4th. Stay safe out there with friends and family. Don't drive if you're drinking. You know the rules. So I feel like we can get that out of the way. But as always, my friends, appreciate you guys very much. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.